各位记者朋友
Good afternoon. Welcome to today's regular press conference. Now the floor for questions is open.
Thank you. Nelson, Folha de São Paulo, Brazil.
圣保罗夜报，美国政府威胁将对巴西自从8月1号开始征收50%的关税，这举动被视为是对拉丁美洲其他国家和金砖国家树立典型。中方对此有何评论，以及中方以及金砖国家会做哪些努力来开放对于飞机等其他市场的开放？
对巴西。
So previously, China has made our position clear on the U.S. Tariff on Brazil. What I want to emphasize is that the tariff will produce no winner. Unilateral acts serve no one's interest. China is ready to work with LAC countries, BRICS countries, including Brazil, to jointly safeguard the WTO-centered multilateral trading system and defend international fairness and justice. As the cooperation on airplanes you mentioned, I want to re-emphasize that China attaches great importance to the practical cooperation with Brazil on the aviation and is ready to advance the relevant cooperation based on the markets to facilitate the national development.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。RT 今日俄罗斯提问。
RTTV, Ukrainian President Zelensky said on Sunday that he has approved new sanctions by the Ukrainian National Security and Defense Commission. Zelensky said on Telegram that the 18 sanctions have taken effect, targeting including 53 individuals and entities from multiple countries, including China. What's China's comment on that?
中方
China always opposes any unilateral sanctions without the underpinning of international law and the authority of the UN Security Council. China urges the Ukraine to immediately rectify the wrongdoings and eliminate the negative impacts. China will firmly safeguard the legitimate lawful rights of Chinese enterprises.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。总台央视记者提问：据报道，台湾地区外事部门负责
CCTV is reported that the head of Taiwan's so-called Foreign Affairs Department made a private trip to Japan and met with Japanese politicians, including former Economic Security Minister and Director of the LDPU's division. Was China's comment? By allowing Lin Chia-lons to make the so-called private trip, Japan provided a platform for Taiwan independence forces to engage in anti-China separatist activities, seriously violated the basic norms governing international relations and the principles in the full political documents between China and Japan, and sent out a gravely wrong signal. China strongly deplores and firmly opposes it. We've made strong protests with the Japanese side in both Beijing and Tokyo. Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. The Taiwan question is at the core of China's core interests and bears on the political foundation of China-Japan relations and basic trust between the two countries. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and World Anti-Fascist War and the restoration of Taiwan. Japan's colonial rule over Taiwan lasted for more than 50 years, and it bears serious historical responsibilities to the Chinese people. We urge Japan to abide by the principles in the four political documents between China and Japan, act on its solemn political commitment, deeply reflect on and learn lessons from history, act all the more prudently on the Taiwan question, not to harm China's sovereignty in any way, and not to send any wrong signals to Taiwan independent separatist forces. Japan should never underestimate the firm resolve, will, and ability of the Chinese people to safeguard sovereignty and territorial integrity. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。香港中评社记者提问： 据报道，香港警方宣布通缉19名在境外筹组、成立或参与所谓香港议会颠覆组织的人员。我们注意到个别国家就此说三道四，请问发言人对此有何评论？
We've learned that recently, another Chinese scholar who has conducted research in the U.S. was grounded detained by the U.S. law enforcement agencies. What's the ministry comment? For quite some time, the U.S. has overstretched the concept of national security to frequently harass and interrogate Chinese students and researchers in the U.S. and even arrest and prosecute them by Trump charges. This severely infringes on the lawful rights and interests of Chinese students and scholars, disrupt China-U.S. people-to-people and cultural exchanges, in particular education cooperation, and will end up tarnishing the U.S. own image and reputation in the world. We urge the U.S. to The people on the wanted list that you mentioned organized an illegal election to establish the so-called Hong Kong Parliament to subvert state power. Their egregious move severely violates national security law, challenges the principles of a country system, which is a red line that must not be crossed, and endangers national security and development interests. Hong Kong police lawful issuance of arrest warrants for them is fully just to uphold the rule of law in Hong Kong, necessary to defend national sovereignty, security, and legitimate to safeguard the lasting peace of Hong Kong. It's in line with international law and common practices. Hong Kong affairs are purely China internal affairs. Relevant countries should respect China's sovereignty, Hong Kong's rule of law, and stop emboldening anti-China rioters. Next question, please.
Hi, Lewis from Reuters.
路透社，泰国代总理称，中方已经提出要帮助劝和促谈，也就是在柬泰之间，这是否是准确的？中方能否提供相关的细节？中方提供了什么样的帮助？
柬埔寨和
Cambodia and Thailand are and will always be each other's neighbors. Both countries are China's friends and neighbors as well. Maintaining good neighborliness and mutual trust in problem managing differences serves the two countries' fundamental long-term interests and the region's peace and stability. China is deeply saddened by the casualties inflicted on both sides and expresses heartfelt sympathies. We hope both sides will bear in mind the interest of the two peoples, cherish peace and good neighborliness, exercise common restraint, come to a ceasefire as soon as possible, settle differences peacefully through dialogue and consultation, and restore peace and stability along the border soon. Both Cambodia and Thailand are important members of ASEAN. ASEAN has been working intensively for days to bring about a ceasefire between the two sides. China commends it and welcomes all efforts conducive to de-escalation. China will maintain its fair and impartial position and continue having close communication with both sides, actively facilitate talks for peace and play a constructive role for ceasefire. Next one, please.
环球时报提问：据了解，近期又有一名在美国从事研究的中国学者。
Recently, we've learned that another Chinese scholar who has conducted research in the U.S. was groundedly detained by the U.S. law enforcement agency. So, what's the ministry's comment? For some time, the U.S. has overstretched the concept of national security to frequently harass and interrogate Chinese students and researchers in the U.S. and even arrest and prosecute them by trumping up charges. This severely infringes on the lawful rights and interests of Chinese students and scholars, disturbs China-U.S. people-to-people and cultural exchanges, in particular education cooperation, and will end up tarnishing the U.S. own image and reputation in the world. We urge the U.S. to stop presumption of guilt and political manipulation, stop its politically driven and discriminatory law enforcement targeting Chinese students and scholars in the U.S., and deliver on the U.S. leadership's commitment to welcome Chinese students to study in the U.S. China will firmly safeguard the legitimate and lawful rights and interests of Chinese students and scholars overseas, and remind students in the U.S. to stay alert against relevant risks.
Next
one, please.
Reuters again.
路透社，美中即将在瑞典展开贸易谈判，现在贸易谈判的进展如何？
关于中美在瑞
On the specific situations about the trade and economy meetings in Sweden, you can keep an eye on it. I want to emphasize that on trade and economy, China's position is consistent and clear that we hope the United States to implement the common understandings reached by the two heads of state through a phone call to leverage the role of China-U.S. trade and economic consultative mechanisms based on the respect, equality, and mutual benefit to strengthen common understanding, reduce miscalculation, strengthen cooperation to promote the steady, sound, sustainable development of China-U.S. relations. Next question.
Bloomberg News.
彭博社，刚才你提到了香港警方提出通缉令，对于19个国外的海外人士进行了通缉。那么你提到这是依法的，你能否提到在澳洲的人士被通缉是遵循了什么法律？是否干涉澳方的主权？你能否具体的谈一谈这到底依据了什么国际法？
香港是
Hong Kong is a society with rule of law. To abide by the law and bring lawbreakers to justice is the fundamental principles. No one can violate the law and tries to escape the sanctions of law. The Hong Kong police take law enforcement operations to the overseas anti-China destabilizing forces according to the international national security law and regulations is in line with international law and common practices. We support the Hong Kong SAR to implement the Hong Kong security law and regulations to combat the anti-China destabilizing forces.
下一个问题。
Next question.
发行社，台湾
AFP Taiwan yesterday did not pass the great recall against several lawmakers. What's China's comment on the latest developments concerning Taiwan's great recall?
国台办发言人以
The spokesperson has made a statement that the votes have showed that the DPP's maneuver X will win no public support. I want to emphasize that there is but one China in the world. Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. Taiwan question is China's internal affairs, and no external forces should interfere with it. Next question, please.
Reuters.
路透社，关于中美之间的经贸谈判，美国和欧盟称，最近美方和欧盟之间的贸易协议并不是理想的，但是是最好的。如果现在只有这样子的选项，中方是否愿意进行妥协？
关于你提到
Concerning the trade deal between the U.S. and Europe, I want to say that China consistently advocated that both sides should follow the equality conversation to have the trade and economy issues, to follow the WTO's rules, and at the same time, we firmly oppose any side to achieve a deal by the sacrifice of China's interests.
下一个问题。
Next question, please.
发行社香港
AFP. C.K. Hutchinson, the Hong Kong-based company, today said that it's considering inviting major investors from China to join the consortium in terms of the acquisition of Panama Port. What's China's comment on that?
我们关注到
We have noticed the relevant announcements. Chinese government will take regulatory measures according to the law to firmly safeguard national sovereignty and to safeguard the market's justice and fairness.
下一个问题。
Next question.
Any 还有其他问题吗？
Any other question?
« 好，今天的记
Today's press conference ends.
Question.
最后一个问题 ，FT 今天报道称，美国已经停止对中国的科技出口限制，这主要是为了美中之间经贸谈判之前进行这样一个善举。中方对此有何评论？
Chinese entities. Thank you.
在中美经贸问题上，
On China-U.S. trade issues, I want to emphasize that our trade cooperation in nature is mutually benefit. We want that the United States can implement the common consensus reached by the two heads of states to based on the equality, mutual benefit, to strengthen consensus, reduce miscalculation, and strengthen cooperation to advance the steady, sound, and sustainable development of China-U.S. relations.
下一个问题。
Next question.
还有其他问题吗？
Any other questions?
还有其他问题吗？
Anything else? Then let's call it a day. Thank you for coming.